there's a lot of spandex with one of those spandex leotards, high-cut leotards, and the scrunchy socks, with the Nike sneaks, and the sweatbands. And I loved going with my mom to jazzercise, and I was the only kid that used to go, and I used to see what they used to wear. I'm like, okay, I'm wearing shorts. I need to wear the right thing. And so one day I walked out of my bedroom thinking I looked so good. And I was wearing my pink ballerina tights underneath my Pepsi Cola bathing suit. And my scrunchy socks and my Nike sneaks, and I had sweatband right here in my hair in a ponytail to the sides and right here. And that evening we went to jazzercise, and I went right to the front of the class to the instructor, and I kind of just did my thing. I was like, woo, woo, woo. And I just remember making everybody smile and giggle and laugh, and they're like, oh yeah, who is this kid? And my mom was all the way in the back. She's like, yeah, that's mine. But that was one of my silly moments and I remember finding a picture of me wearing that outfit, and it was just like, yeah, I didn't care. I did not care, and it was great not caring what other people thought of me, or really in the moment of just like doing what I was doing and not caring about anything else that I had to do later or anything else that happened before, just literally being in the moment, being really excited about it and silly about it, and having this innocent childlike confidence, and which often disintegrates as we grow up because of experiences that we have, and that's why it's so beautiful to kind of go back to finding your inner child, because there's that profound innocence that's there. And when you're working with kids, they see that. They really do. It reflects back, and they read your energy, and they feel your energy, and they don't even know that they can, but they are. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into programming, how to program to work with kids, okay? Research is your best bet. I often work with different books, but this is one of my favorite books, Go To, Creating a Yoga Practice for Kids. This was written by a couple that has had some very successful experiences teaching kids yoga, and I love this book because it really does explain the psychology and the purpose behind doing each activity, team building activities, icebreaker activities, etc. And it breaks down the poses into a way that you can explain to the kids so that you can communicate what it is that you're doing in a very gentle way. So that's just one resource, and I'll provide other resources for you via email. I'm going to forward that to Mr. Alva, and he'll forward that to you guys later. And also, when you're programming, it's really important to read the kids. I usually set up my first session as like an interview process when I'm working with kids, a new group of kids for the first time. As we get together, we have our breathing exercises, we sit down, we get to know each other's names, and then I start asking them questions. Okay, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? What's your favorite game? All right, and then I start asking them, okay, how can we turn that into a yoga game? Okay, and maybe some of them have never done yoga before. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to ask you that same question again at the end of class. All right, so don't forget the games that you told me that you like to do. So then throughout the class, I'll teach them some yoga poses, and in a very silly, light-mannered way. Don't take it too seriously because then they feel intimidated. But at the end of class, I'll ask them again, okay, now that you know what a little bit of yoga is like, how can you turn your game into a yoga game? So some examples of that have been, let me see, Yogi says instead of Simon says. Yeah, and when somebody, usually if it's the instructor, will take turns with the kids. saying, okay, if let's say it's little Susie's turn. She's the yogi. Yogi says, Susie says. And if Yogi says to do downward dog, do downward dog. If she says do cobra pose, but Yogi didn't say first, you're not out. Typically, as Simon says, you would be out, correct? But instead, we keep everybody incorporated, we keep everybody included to not feel bad that they made a mistake. Instead, they have to make an animal noise, and everybody else in the room has to reply with that animal noise, like a warrior call. And then they jump right back into the game, and everybody gets a turn if time allows it. So another game that they really like is freeze dance. So we turn it into yoga freeze dance. So when the music's playing, you dance like nobody's watching. And when I freeze the music, you have to freeze in a yoga pose. It could be any pose that comes to mind. If you really can't think of any yoga poses at the time, especially if they're still very new at yoga, then whatever funny pose that they freeze in, they have to give it a new yoga name and give them credit because they discovered something new. So it helps them build that confidence at the same time. Also, while simultaneously you are creating a program that's fit for them, that they really enjoy and are enthusiastic to come back to. So, along with that...
Where do you teach kids yoga?
Oh, good question. As of right now, I teach kids yoga at different elementary schools. I go around to different aftercare programs, usually about 10 to 16 weeks at a time, and then I'll move on to the next public school.
Okay.
And right now I'm just in elementary schools. And,
how did you start doing that?
Actually, I was a nanny for about 9 years.
Oh, wow.
And the little girl that I was nannying with, she was sort of my muse when I was going through my teacher training. And she gave me that aha moment. She has, all the diagnoses, severe ADHD, bipolar, behavioral disorders, and she was doing very poorly in school. She couldn't sit still. She was over-medicated. She was under-medicated. It was very confusing. And one afternoon, she just couldn't sit still in her chair, and she had to do a math problem, and she couldn't get it done. She couldn't focus. So I said, okay, close your book, stand up. We're going to do a sun salutation, and we're just going to go nuts. Okay? Go nuts. All right, everything I do, you got to do back. And then we're going to go faster. And we're going to do it faster and faster and faster, and then we're going to stop and lay on the floor. Okay? She's like, yeah, all right. Challenge accepted. And we did that over and over again until she was just completely calm and wanting to lie on the floor. And we lay down on the floor afterwards, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and I said, okay, are you ready to try that math problem again? And she stood up, she said, okay. She was a little bit iffy about it, but she sat down. After she had burned up that anxious energy that she had, that uncertainty, she was able to sit down and really focus on what she was doing. And it was a very simple misreading that she was having. She was confused. And then she was able to reread it and discover her mistake. So it helped her, find her focus in a different, after she burned her energy up and readjusted her energy a little bit. So, but that's what my aha moment was with her. And then I was during my teacher training program, and I said, okay, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to focus on. I want my focus to be on kids yoga, and that's what I did. I ended up doing a lot of my research towards the end of my studying for kids. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to any other programs specifically for kids yoga?
No, I didn't actually. I did a lot of my research based on just working with kids. Like I said, that was my most successful approach and technique to working with kids, as well as researching different resources, books, websites, talking with parents as well, and just it sort of naturally started to unfold. And then in the later years, I started researching other certification programs for kids yoga and reading their format, I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. Well, that, maybe the universe was just telling me I'm right where I already need to be.
Yeah.
So, and then there's other programs, different kids yoga areas that had asked me to come teach for them at one point in time, and they said, we have a kids yoga class, but it's just not successful. The kids don't listen. We try to give them chocolate. It doesn't work. And I'm like, no, never bribe them. All right? Never bribe the kids, ever. It's never going to work. You use their interest, you engage them, you get them excited, and that's going to be your best approach. Never chocolate, never anything else. And then, from time to time, if you want to treat them with like a sticker or a stamp or something,
Right.
that's cool, but don't make that the primary focus. That this is what you get if you sit still
Don't give
for
them
meditation.
sugar.
Yeah, and don't give them sugar if they can't sit still. It's just going to backfire. But I ended up going into a lot of those places where they had gotten certifications from, specified certifications from places. I'm like, okay, well, what went wrong? And then the primary issue was there was no one-on-one connection with each child, with each group. Connecting, what do you like?
Right.
Okay, what was your favorite yoga pose? All right, do you want to